Hello, welcome back to our channel with Alan Dembski and Juliana Jansen from Buffalo First Wealth Management. Today, our topic is inheritance strategies. There will be a few minute conversation on having the conversation with loved ones before and after you or somebody in your household passes away. So, one of the things that we would like to start with, oh, I forgot to say, follow us and like us on all our social media channels and hit the subscribe button for our weekly videos that come out almost every Tuesday or Wednesday. But the first thing that we'd like to talk about is having an open conversation with all the parties that are involved with your estate, whether it's the executor, trustees, beneficiaries, anybody that's going to be involved in the dissolution of your estate when you pass away. You want to have that conversation beforehand so there's hopefully no hard feelings after you pass away.
Yeah, it's very common for people to, it's not really a fun conversation, and most people don't
Yeah.
look forward to having it, but it can really make a difference for your loved ones after you pass away if everybody knows what page everyone is on. So, the next thing is to make sure that you have your professionals lined up. It's always easier to do things in advance before you're in a difficult emotional state. So, having a tax professional, a financial professional, certainly an attorney, an estate attorney, and that's
Yes.
an important distinction. There are a lot of attorneys out there, but this is a time where you really want to get a specialist who sees these types of things on a daily basis, not somebody that
Right.
works on it just occasionally. And also, if there is property involved, you want to have your real estate professional lined up if there's going to be a piece of property that needs to be sold.
Yeah. Selling property, you don't want to be doing that yourself. And, after somebody passes away, you want to have some cooling off period. You want to relax and have everything prepared beforehand to make that transition easier, but also give yourself some time to grieve because generally people make not so good decisions sometimes when they're all stressed out and feeling the grief of whether it was a spouse or a child or whoever it might be. You just need some mental downtime to start to get things in order and get your brain on the right track going forward.
Yeah, often people want to rush it, and that's not always the best way to approach it. One of the things you want to do during your cooling off period is to get a good idea of what the cash flow of the estate is, as well as your own personal cash flow if you're going to be receiving an inheritance. You can't really make good decisions on what to do with any potential inheritance if you don't really know what your obligations are, not just now, but into the future.
Yeah, so having the debt conversation too. We're looking at cash flow, current, expected, and what type of debt do we have? Is it good debt, like your mortgage that you have this windfall? Do I want to pay off my mortgage that's maybe 3-4%, or do I want to pay off credit card, which is not so good debt of 23 or 30% that's been lingering around, or student loans, things that are not very good debt wise that have high interest? You might want to look at that, paying that down with some of that windfall.
And that's, I mean, that's another reason for that cooling off period. A lot of people do come to us and say, I received this inheritance. I just want to pay off my mortgage.
Yeah.
And that may or may not be the right decision for you. You really kind of need to run the numbers and see where you are, see where your money is invested, and what makes the most sense for you. And, along those lines, looking at your tax consequences of the inheritance is another crucial piece of this. And there are a lot, I mean, we could probably do 10 videos on just this alone based on different scenarios, but trying to identify whether or not this additional money will allow you to increase your own savings for retirement. Somebody recently reached out to me, and their loved one had just passed away, and they were going to receive an inheritance, and they were all ready to start making donations to charities. And I started asking questions about, well, do you have your own long-term care situation squared away? Do you have your own retirement squared away? And they really hadn't. So kind of goes to your cooling off period. People are emotional and they want to make
Mhm.
decisions quickly, but sometimes looking at the total scenario is a better way to approach it.
Yeah, absolutely. And when looking at that, you have a whole lot of things going on as far as that windfall. And the last thing you want to do is not have a plan before you get the windfall, because money makes people emotional, and we do some crazy things, buying, fancy cars or going out and buying a new house, let alone paying off the one we have. But you also want to evaluate any of the insurances that you might have. You know, when people inherit, maybe it's a lot of money, maybe it's not so much money, but when people start hearing that you inherited, whether you won the lotto, you get those friends that you never had out of the woodwork. Maybe take a look at, whatever you're inheriting, like, do I need to get an umbrella policy or increase my liability coverage, because I might be more susceptible to lawsuits, especially if I have different properties, or I upgrade my house and have a pool, making sure that I'm covered to protect everything that that person that passed away left me with.
Yeah, it's sad that you have to think about that, but good advice.
Right. So one of the other things I just thought of as we're going through this is, when you inherit that money, you know, are we thinking of everything, not only what that person left us, but what is our legacy going to be after the fact? Do we want to keep that deceased person's legacy alive that they enriched me with, to be able to enrich somebody else with? Whether it's my kids, or, like Juliana said, a charity, making sure that that money is going to be left for others as well. What do you want your legacy to be, I guess?
Yeah, and again, thinking about it, the best time to think about it is when you're not emotional and you're not grieving. So, being taking a proactive approach is always the best move in these
Right.
cases.
And it doesn't matter how much money you inherit, or property that you inherit. The biggest thing that we want you to take away of what this video is just having a plan, just making sure you plan. Because just like in our other videos, it's always the what ifs. There's never any clear path to a solution when it comes to finances.
Definitely.
Stay tuned for our next video. Thank you very much.